Hello, how are you guys doing? Hopefully you're discovering our content and noticing we have a lot in common. Most humans have more in common than they do differences. Today, I wanted to speak on some more of the foundational principles of Sundar Gourmet, and I wanted to speak about spirituality because our core principles come from spirituality. I'm a Christian, we are a Christian ministry, but our food is Indian fusion food. So we have South Indian and Punjabi type food that we're fusing with other cultures. And when I think of India, I think of an incredibly culturally diverse country that even within Indian people who haven't per se been a huge melting pot as much as you might think of America as being, each village, each household would have its own recipes and its own garam masala, and each region has distinct dishes. And I think that when we're looking at culture, looking at food is a great way to introduce yourself to a culture and to have memorable experiences bonding with other cultures that you can take forward in your journey. For me, as a Christian, I minister to other cultures a lot. That doesn't mean I shove Christianity on them and tell them to completely abandon their beliefs. I just tell them why I believe what I do. I tell them what I believe to be true, and I accept their truth for what it is. I am compelled to tell them that it is important that they know that Jesus died for their sins, and that without a relationship with him, the Bible makes it pretty clear that he is our way to heaven. And I let them know that. That's my belief. I do that out of love, not out of I want everyone to be like me. I really believe if that's their way into heaven, I want them to go. So anyway, being culturally diverse, India is full of Christians, but you think of the oldest religion that is practiced in mass right now in the world, Hinduism, is coming from India. And there are a lot of Muslims there, so Islam is huge there. And I actually worked for a couple that were Sikh. They're Punjabi, and Sikhism is big there. Not as big as the others I mentioned, but it's big. So I thought I would talk about Hinduism and Christianity. And the reason I'm doing this, I think if you're going to minister to another culture, you owe it to them to have read their holy book before you. Let me put it this way. I've met a lot of pastors. I've gone to their churches. I've spoken to them personally. And their opinion is, for instance, Muslims are wrong. They're going to hell. Islam is wrong. If they even know Allah is the name of what they're praising as God, Allah, which in Arabic basically means God. They say Allah is not Jehovah, which I agree. But they don't know why, because they've never read the Quran. So like for me, I've read the Bhagavad Gita, and I've read the Upanishads and other books from that region. That's more of a Buddhist text. The Vedas are like foundational writing for Hinduism. But I used to study Eastern philosophy before I became a Christian. And Hinduism really spoke to me. It did. A lot of it makes sense to me just because I study science too, and it seems to go hand in hand with quantum mechanics. And Deepak Chopra points all this stuff out too, and I listened to his stuff, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So the three big gods, I guess, there are so many, thousands of gods in Hinduism that you could, but the way I look at it, if I were praying to my God Jehovah, all these other gods I look at as lowercase g's. They're not equal to him. He's the creator. And everything else can be an idol, so you can make it a god, but it has no power compared to him. He is infinitely powerful. So everything else is nothing. Compared to infinity, it's nothing, right? So when I look at the three main gods in Hinduism, which are thousands, like I said, but the three big ones are Brahma, who is the creator, Vishnu, who is like a preserver, and then you have Shiva, who's a destroyer. So it's balanced. Destruction and preservation are balanced, and you have this thing creating. So Yeah. What I want to say is, if I were to look at any of those and compare it to Jehovah, I would say Brahma, right? But uniquely, I think because he's the creator, then I don't know. I think that he's not the same as Brahma, because Brahma has these other gods that are equal doing this thing, and I don't think there's an equal to Yahweh, right? So anyway, that's where I'm at. That's the difference. I have a friend who is Hindi, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Jesus is a god." They appreciate that, but they could also look at other things, you and me as gods. I mean, to some extent. So they're just, the concept is totally different. Now, I believe if my friend had never been introduced to a Bible or anything, never got that opportunity, I think that my God is loving enough that if she died and never had the earthly opportunity to be introduced to Jesus, that he'll meet her upon death and still give her a chance to say, "Hey, I'm God. Do you accept my love?" That's my belief. I don't see anything that makes it not biblical. But I think that we all have an opportunity to know deep down inside there is a creator, and I think he programs us to seek him. But I question whether or not knowing his first name is all that important, because even Jesus, when he was walking, and that's controversial for a Christian to say, but when Jesus was walking this earth, he directed people to the Father. He never name dropped him. He called him God the Father. It was his Father. So I look at it as Father. And he did a lot of things in the Bible that, it solidified his case that he was the Father incarnate. But I have that same spirit inside of me as a believer. So I don't know. That's my take on Hinduism and Christianity. And as a Christian, I'll tell you, the way I ministered to my Hindi friend and my Muslim friend, I was just really kind to them. I prayed with them. They were open to my prayers. Although my Muslim friend believes in a version of Jesus, he denies his deity, because Allah would never incarnate as a human. He's way too holy. I see where their point of view is coming from, but I think because of all the Christophanies in the Bible, that is where God appeared as humans in the Old Testament, even in Genesis. I think that he's fully willing to incarnate as a human, and he did so in a really awesome way with Jesus. And I think he's willing to reach us and to fill us with his spirit, and there's nothing we can do to attain that. You know what I mean? Like, he seeks us, impresses upon us that he's real, blows our mind, and we have to do it. You just can't not do it. So I prayed for my friends to have that personal relationship, more than a system of works or slavery, like where you're face planting. And I appreciate the dedication. Lemonade. But anyway, God bless you, and continue to study spirituality as you study your cooking.